Hi, so it's College Gal Yana again. Don't mind my outfit. I finally decided to wear something because it's so hot outside. But today's video, as promised, is going to be about my college journey because, it's been a long route and I've had a lot of twists and turns and fell victim to a couple of scams. So I'm just doing this video to talk about my journey so far and to provide insight and I guess like warn people kind of. I'm not gonna bash any schools, but I'm just gonna talk about my experience um, of how I was vulnerable, basically, because I wanted to race into the idea of college without doing any investigations. So I'm gonna start off 2008. Well, I started high school in 2007, and I wanted to do journalism in college. So I went to a school focused on writing. It had like different academies, and I was on the writing floor. So from there, 2008, I ended up moving to Florida, and I started going to North Miami Beach Senior High. And I was in 10th grade. I didn't know what I wanted to do yet, but the experience at that Florida school was so amazing compared to the New York high schools. We had like I felt like I was in college. It was a huge campus. I think we had the NMB Chargers. We had pep rallies. It was like in the movies or something. Okay, so after that, um, I attended that school from like I want to say August 2008 to like October, and then for some reason we came back to New York, my family and I started going to a school in Brooklyn. Um, I always was a really good student. My grades were really high. I was in the high school scholars. I think it was called the high school scholars because now I'm in the college at scholars because I'm in college. But from junior high school, I had honors awards. I had like the pins. I ended up getting the. It's so sad I lost these documents. Helen Einstein Women's Assembly Award, and then I graduated with like Black History Month recognition awards, and I had the Arista Archon, something like that, some pin. I still have the pin, thank God, but the documents are gone due to me constantly moving, sadly. But I was always an honor student. I was always in the gifted programs from elementary school. We ended up, due to our high achievements, in an annex school, they called it. We got moved from the general population to a specialized annex school. Then I went to the magnet school in Brooklyn. Ended up in junior high school, and like I said, I went from there into a school in Manhattan for writing because I wanted to be a writer, and I wanted a program focused on later further me into journalism. That was my first major choice. I was always writing. That's why I have my book now. Um, Journalism. I wanted to do not really. I wanted to do like investigative journalism with publications, print journalism, write for like a paper or online or something. I was always into that. So where was I? That's why I like having the ability to edit videos. I don't want this one to be too long. We're already at 3 minutes. So anyway, we're back at high school. So in 2008, December, around my 14th birthday, right before my 14th birthday, I enrolled in the school in Brooklyn. And it was a nice school because it was a college campus. It was a huge campus to mimic a college campus. And it was different from the other high schools people think of in Brooklyn back in those days because it was kind of like college oriented programs. You see the way in college now we can choose which categories, which classes from which categories we want to be fulfilled, like English. Any type of English could fulfill that requirement in college. In high school, when I don't know how it is now, but when I first was in there, you just get the basics. You get like English 1, English 2, but this one was a specified focus, whatever. So they had, for example, if you want to take English to fulfill your English credits, you could take creative writing, you could take investigation, you could take women's studies. The program of your scheduling was designed to have you in control. You had free periods in between instead of going straight through like 9 to 3, 9 to 5. we had a lot of freedom, and I guess that's where I kind of messed up a little with the freedom, because my other friends never heard of any free programs, free slots on your schedule. So, they gave us that freedom, that responsibility, and some of us ran with it. I wasn't familiar with having the ability to choose and to advise myself and to choose which courses you knew you needed to fulfill. So I ended up like hanging out on campus, the college campus, and you start not going to class. And so my grades kind of went downhill. When I first got there, I was really introverted and I still excelled. But my first failure was this teacher named Miss Wardborn. I'll never forget. And I found it so amazing that she failed me because I was really dedicated to that earth science class. I'll never forget that. Earth science. I had a big poster board and I did like a science project. And when I was trying to present, there were these girls, they were just yelling over me and not letting me present, but I still persevered through that and I handed in a lot of extra credit work. And she failed me because I missed one day. And it's interesting because in that school we had something called R reversal. And R reversal saved my life because basically is you petitioning the teacher, like trying to work out something, like I want to reverse this R. The R was like a failure, like a D, no, like a F. It was called R from what I remember. But I never reversed it because I didn't want to challenge the teacher and I was so angry. And I would never look at my transcript. It was funny because when I was in ninth grade, I didn't even know I was an honor student because I was so used to getting good grades. I didn't notice it because I never went to look at my transcript. So finally, one day, somehow, I saw my transcript and I saw 89 point whatever. And then I was like, that's high. People were looking at my grades like, oh, this is so high. And I was like, it just came so natural for me. But that first grade that I didn't get, you had a certain amount of time to be able to reverse it. I never reversed it. And from there, due to my own issues with self-image and feeling like I didn't belong and not really having a support system and worried about people's perceptions, and I had like a severe social anxiety issue, I ended up in fear of school due to the bullying, the cyber stalking, which again, any of these things I'll touch on in my book, but I don't use names. But I just want to focus on the importance of how bullying can affect someone because I felt extremely uncomfortable. And it was like these people, we were going to the same school, and I had to see them at my home vicinity. So it was like if we got into an altercation at school, they know where I live because they live on the same block. I felt just so out of place. And then I stopped going to school, and that's where the downfall of my grade point average came in because if you looked at my transcript, you would see A, and then you would just see R, which is equivalent to F. And it wasn't that I didn't know the work; it was that I was not attending those courses. And you don't have the option of dropping like you have in college, you know. So I stopped going to school. I would go in school. I would see those who were harassing me. They would do something. I would feel uncomfortable, and I will run out of school. Like if I start at 8 a.m., I get in school at 8 a.m. And then someone, well, they say something, they start doing something, I would leave school instantly. I wouldn't even let myself be in this scenario. And I never, this should be another video. This should be a bullying video, but I will do another video about bullying and the importance of speaking out because when you stay silent, no one knows what's going on. I can't blame the school because the school didn't know anything. I just stopped going to school. I never told anyone. I never told my parents. But it's really important to keep a record of these things and to report it. I couldn't expect the school to understand, but basically, I left that school. I ended up as a super senior. I was supposed to graduate in 2011, but due to my absences, my grades were zeros, and I was absent for regents and all. It was just horrible. So basically, let me move this a little closer. So basically, I ended up just at a loss. When I went into I ended up scrambling in 2011 in my last year to try to make amends, to try to get advisement to see what I could do. At that point, I wasn't leaving school in fear anymore. when I was 17. It was mostly, from what I remember, it was like age 16. I felt out of place. But once I got into foster care in April 2011, I was like, I want to get back into school. So I started doing all the work, going to all the classes, and I got some grades before. This is the part. I ended up dropping out, and the reason why I dropped out was because I was feeling out of place at home. I was already a super senior in my foster home, and then I saw an advertisement, and I was really susceptible to influence during that time because I just was so at a loss looking for how to still be in the same standing as the rest of my peers in my class. 2011, I wanted to be like them. They were going to college, they were doing all these things, and I wanted to do the same thing. So I found like an alternate route, which kind of backfired a little bit. So I ended up looking in the classified section one day in like a newspaper, like Metro newspaper, AM New York, one of the free ones. And then I saw like, do you want to go to school? Do you want to go to college, but you have no high school diploma? And then it said, whatever college, and it was a preparatory school, which means that it's like an institute. The name of the school had institute on the ending, and it was really small. Like when you got there, it was kind of like offices. It wasn't, and it had different buildings scattered through Manhattan, not like a campus building next to each other. I mean, scattered through Manhattan, like these renting offices they would rent out. It was just bizarre. I mean, so I saw it, and I said, "This is my chance to be ahead. I could, upon completion of this associate's degree, I could also obtain my GED." And what led me to that decision was that when I was in my foster home, my foster father, he made a comment that really stuck with me during that time. And it made me feel guilt, and it made me feel like I needed to rush to be in the same standing as them because I was behind and I was in some competition or something. I was in like a race and I needed to be in the same place as them. I was going to my friend's graduation in 2011, and when he heard of this, he said, "Well, how are you going to your friend's graduation and you're supposed to be in the same class?" He was like, "You should be ashamed. You should be right there graduating with them. They're going to college. You're just here to stand still." Those weren't his exact words. I'm trying to sugarcoat it. I never forget. He said, "You should be ashamed." He was like, "That was supposed to be you. Why are you gonna sit there in your own kind of like your own graduation, seeing what you should have done, which you haven't done?" So then I was like, and I always say that if you're going to do something for somebody else's approval and not for you, it's gonna backfire. I didn't want to go to that school because of myself, because like I said, my major focus from when I was in good standing in school, when I was doing all the examinations and going to the college office and applying before my senior year when it kind of crumbled, I was adamant on being a journalist. So I was going to go away to SUNY somewhere. I had all like SUNY colleges and private colleges with journalism as the major, like publications, whatever. So all of a sudden I did a complete 360. And with these trade schools, either you focus on a trade, like HVAC technician, air conditioner, refrigeration. What is it? It's this thing like solar. It kind of had things similar to that, and it was like math and science type things. Trade. You would mostly get like trade with this. The only thing it wasn't trade because I'm not really interested in math and science. I'm more of a which side of the brain is that? Left brain, where you're like artistic and into writing and things like that. So that's how I always was. I always was writing, excelling in English, and math was like my low point. I would either get failing or the bare minimum. Math is still something I struggle with. So, even though I forced myself into this school and I didn't really have a choice, I was not going to choose those majors, air conditioner, and I mean, don't quote me on it. I don't remember exactly, but it was somewhere along those lines. It was like engineer, technician, something, trade, and it only had like one real associate's program. It said human services. So upon my little investigation, I was like, human services, well, it's some type of human services. I didn't even know what it was really. I was like, I think I did a little investigation and I saw that it was like working with people or something. I said, well, this is the only thing that doesn't relate to math or science, so let me do this. And, you know, I always thought it was weird. I called, I said, hi, is this new institute? And they said, yeah, come on down. And I was like, that's fast. I could really get my career started this quick. So I came on down, and it wasn't so much enthusiasm in their voices, these financial aid counselors. It was like fast talking salesmen type things going on. It was like they were trying to sell me a product that was defective, but they wanted me to not use that product before I left there and realized it was defective and I needed a refund. It's like I had dug myself in such a hole that I wasn't able to reflect. This school, I'm not trying to talk down anyone, but I'm gonna be realistic here. These type of schools, they prey on certain categories of students. People that are desperately, like how I was desperately trying to compete with others because I felt behind. So that was vulnerability right there. I was susceptible to being swindled into anything, any school. There was a lot of people that were international who didn't know about the way these schools swindle people. They didn't know the types of education this trade preparatory institute versus a CUNY or a SUNY school. They preyed on people that just came up here and was trying to do some type of education without investigation. They also, in the school, I saw a lot of people, and I'm not trying to be rude, but I saw a lot of people, it was sad that they preyed upon due to an intellectual disability. And I know that your illness does not define you, because I'm in the mental health field. I know your illness doesn't define you, but they were able to prey upon them due to, their vulnerable. I don't want to, the way I word this, I want to be careful. The ability to think quickly under pressure, it really wasn't there. The way to evaluate the situation, the judgment was off in these individuals, so they decided to prey on that. So I saw a lot of people around me like that, a lot of young people, because I was like, I just turned 18 years old. There was a lot of young people. It was also a lot of older people, very very much older, who wanted to go back to school and hadn't even went to school, hadn't even been in the college before. So they thought that some of the tactics being used were the norm. So it was elderly, it was a lot of people with intellectual disabilities, a lot of international, a lot of young people, 17, 18, and that was about it. So I went to the school and I took an exam. It kind of reminded me of like those adult education exams. It was like basic math, basic English or something. Came out of the room, and I'm all like, "Am I gonna get in? Oh my gosh, am I gonna get in?" And my advisor, he was like, "Believe me, you're gonna get in." Of course, believe me, I was gonna get in because they was gonna let me in to get my money. So I came out, and then boom! All of a sudden, from the test, I passed, and I'm in the financial aid office same day. That has not happened to me in the current school I'm in. It's a process. You don't just walk in, take an exam, and then the same day you did the classes in the same day. I was able to leave the same day with a schedule, financial aid same day. That's not how the process usually goes. But me never having attended, visited a school, a college before, I didn't know. And I was so blinded by they don't even want me to have a high school diploma or GED. They don't even care about that. They're gonna let me take it here, so I don't have to explain to them any issues with my GPA. They're looking at me for me. They're not judging me. That was my whole thing. I was like, now I could get some type of degree with the GED, and I don't have to go into the uncomfortable situation of the bullying in high school. And so the reason why I mentioned college first is because I went to this college first, and then they had the audacity to say before enrolling, go to high school and drop out. So me, I was like, I have to drop out of high school entirely before I come here. They didn't even say like finish, or they just said drop out entirely. So I went to school and I told them my plan because they didn't really want me to leave without evaluating my situation. I told them I'm gonna go get a GED and I'm gonna go get an associate's degree. This is what I want to do. So she signed everything and they gave me like a packet. So I went home to my foster father and then he still wasn't happy. After he pressured me, after he didn't pressure me into anything, but due to his harsh words, I really took it to heart, and I just lived for pleasing him at that point. It's like I just wanted his perception of me to change. It's like love me, let me. It was like love, not unconditionally with conditions. It was like I had to do certain things in order to gain his approval. That's how I felt. So that was a bug outside my window. So from there, it was so painful for me, guys. I swear it was painful because I go home and I present him, all the paperwork of the school, and I'm like, look, school. What I did was he wasn't really talking to me. He used to do this ignoring tactic thing. So I would just, whenever I had any accomplishments, I would just put it somewhere where I knew he would see. I'm so sad. I wouldn't come to him and say, hey, Dad, this is what I accomplished. It was like, yeah. And I would put a note. I did that lots of times. It was so sad. So I put it on the computer desk where I knew he was going to use the computer, and I just put a whole bunch of IDs, and it said institute, acceptance. He said, you go to an institute? And I was like, yeah. He's like, okay. I don't remember what he said, but then he found out that I dropped out of high school, and he said, you dropped out of high school? He went like on this rant of concern, and he was telling the people, she dropped out. I was like, but I'm in a school, or whatever. But long story short, I don't really focus on excuse me, institute, because I don't really want to use names here. I mean, if you, I don't feel like being sued or I'm defaming, because they say some people do succeed in this school, but it wasn't for me. I don't feel like that. I feel like the only people that accomplished things there were the ones who were actually doing the trade. Like if they did HVAC, they were gonna do field work in HVAC. It wasn't like someone like me who's looking for actual concrete, real associate's degree program to further me into another school. That was if you want to go there and work, basically. The trade school. It wasn't really college. So their tuition fees were out of control. I ended up coerced and pressured into taking out a loan of $3,000, and that was because they refused to wait to see if I was eligible for TAP or Pell and FAFSA. We didn't even do that. What they did was got me in there, and back then I was still dependent on my parents' income, so I wasn't an independent student. I was still dependent, so I had to show my mother's tax returns and all those things. So I called her, and she was like, "I could get them to you on a later date." They're like, "No, we're not waiting. Come on, you're already accepted. These classes are not gonna wait." My mother is like, "Wait, think about this. I'll give you the information. What school is this?" She's all investigating, and I'm like, "I need it now. I need it now." And then she was like, "Ayana, this is not legitimate." And then I was like, I just need it now. I just need it now. So they basically, pressured me into believing that my mother was the enemy and this was my only resort. In other schools, like the school I attend now, if you're a dependent student, they will wait for these documents. They're not going to say your classes are never going to begin, take out a loan. They do not pressure you for any loans there. the loan will be your decision. I don't even know anyone in there who has loans to pay in the CUNY in that school. I'm sorry, no. This school had the audacity to immediately get out loan papers. I barely had any time to read it. It was all these long list papers and a printout of the tuition. Basically, the preparatory schools ensure that, what do you call it, like state aid, federal, those type of aids, they make sure that their tuition exceeds that. So at CUNY, we're getting refunds because the Pell that you're getting is exceeds the tuition. So you get that money in your pocket to pay for your book advance fees and all these things. But this school, that does not exist. They make sure that their tuition is higher than what you will be given. Either way, I wasn't giving anything because they didn't give me any time. As soon as I walked in, they said, these classes are not going to wait for you. Come on, Ayana. Don't you want to get a new start? Don't you want to do this? It all starts here. And it was sickening. She signed the papers and they said, now you start like tomorrow in 10 days, whatever they said. But the process was extremely quickly. Never had time to evaluate any situation. It was always telling me these things. Don't you want to start here? Don't you want to start now? Isn't this what you want? It was horrible. They didn't give me appropriate financial aid counseling. It just was painting my mother out to be a maniac for not giving me the tax returns quickly in 1 second of learning about it. They didn't want me to think. They don't want you to think at all. So I ended up, long story short, with a $3,000 loan. This was 2000. I started in March 2012. 18, no diploma. I did start attending the classes. I started doing like a M Math 101 in an English basic class, and they had me in public speaking. Those are like the core requirements that you have to fulfill before you take your major classes. I couldn't even tell you. Started off in March. By the time we got to midterm time, around like after spring break, around like April 24th or something, after like April 24th, and then it was about to, May was approaching, I ended up, I stopped going to the school right before midterm examinations for some reason. I stopped going. So that counted as unofficial withdrawals. So in addition to the loans, I owed the school for unofficial withdrawals. So I'm trying to remember exactly what happened. It was so long ago. After December 2012, I think I actually began again September 2012 in fall semester, but it was spring semester in March. I stopped going and I came back in September. I was gonna start attending again, and then something occurred where December something occurred, and then I just left there. I ended up getting this letter in the mail from my mother's house. I was residing somewhere else. It was about a non-traditional high school called Manhattan Comprehensive Night and Day High School, and I fit the criteria. You had to have completed at least three of the required regions. I mean, don't quote me on this. Go look it up or something. You had to have completed three of the required regions. So I already had taken living environment. I already had taken English, and I already had taken American history. So I only needed left global history and whatever other one, because I can't remember right now. I think global history is the only one. I don't know, guys. It's so long that I don't remember. So the school was looking for non-traditional students who were between the ages of like 17 to 24. They also was looking for international students. They were looking for students who had a substantial amount of credits, who were at some type of standstill, and were conflicted. Most likely, they were trying to see if I should let all these credits go in vain, or if I should let these credits go towards something. And I felt like I had 33 to 34 credits around there. You needed 44 to graduate. I said, I'm right there. Why go and get a GED and start my whole process over? I heard those examinations are hard. It's not like I don't have anything to contribute toward the high school diploma. Let's go back to where I started, and further it. So I went down to the school. It was a really supportive environment. They, since it was for non-traditional students, they tried to fulfill our needs. Some of the people there were parents, some were foster youth, some were international students living on their own. We were all older. We all had tried this school thing before, and it just didn't work in a traditional public school that's big, and you tend to feel lost. You tend to feel like you don't have one-on-one support and advisement. At this school, it was on Second Avenue in Manhattan. It was right next to the Ear and Eye Infirmary something. It was right there, 14th Street, the L train, like Third Avenue, First Avenue. It was right there, and it was like no bigger than some sort of church-looking building, but it had stairs. It had around 3 floors or something, and had a basement. The basement was the CDI, Comprehensive Development Incorporated, something like that. That was where I did my internships. I was able to do internships inside of my schedule. So when you see it was a night school also. So I was going to school on Sundays. I was leaving school at 11 p.m. I'm a night owl, so that's really good for me because I had time management issues. So night classes are good for me. Like my new schedule is all afternoon. At college, it's like afternoonish, 6 p.m. ish, because I know how I am in the morning. So this school really wanted to customize your high school experience. It's like, let's get this right this time. Let's really cater to the students' needs. You need some type of food stamp resources, we could get you that. You need to rent out a room because you got kicked out, we can get you that. They actually had their own room renting service. They had everything. That school really paved the way for me because at the school before that, I did not feel any support. If I would be absent from school, they would just tell me I'm going to go to Spofford, which is a juvenile detention center. They didn't know or care to, ask me, is anything going on at home? No one asked anything. They were just like really stern, like you didn't go to school, so now you're gonna go to jail. And that's not how you approach a wayward child because you don't know why they're wayward. Which is why I went to work in this field so badly with youth and in the school system and stuff like that. It's you can't approach these type of children scolding them because that's gonna make them shy away from revealing anything. No one knew I was on the brink of probably the bullies would have killed me. That's how bad it was. It was really horrific. It was like a pack of them. It was cyber. It was everything. So this school was designed to just cater to you specifically, make sure you fulfill those obstacles so you could complete this education. It was very fun. We could have our phones in there, unlike the other school. We could go outside of the school. We could be in the school and leave the school, in the school, leave the school. I would go and have dinner. I would do all kinds of things. The park was right there. Did internships. It was inside my schedule. They had another thing called Co-op Tech. And Co-op Tech was a school where you could get a trade. Unlike that other preparatorial place I went, this was trade that was free. And it had like barbering and hairstyling, nails. They had the same stuff, HVAC, OSHA type things, culinary. They had all kind of things. I actually went there and ended up doing an internship at Tourneau, the watch place in Long Island City, next to LaGuardia Community College and high school. So I did that during the day, and then I would take the 7 train to 42nd, and then transfer to like the 5 back to 14th Street Union Square, and I would go to school. I liked that I was getting paid interning and going to high school. It was inside my schedule. It would say like Ayana is doing courses at this night, and during the day she's doing work. I liked that a lot. It was a very small school. We used to have popcorn that we pop in the microwave and go laugh and play the piano in the auditorium. It was small. It was like smaller than elementary school probably because the elementary schools I know of now are really large. But it was a really close knit community. I ended up on an honor society again. Finally, my GPA went back up. It was average at that point because I failed so many other courses from other school. It was around 78, not what I was used to, but at least I was getting there. Took my examination. We did prom. We did going to Washington for senior trip, and I liked it a lot because inside the school there were people that were pregnant, there were people that were going through domestic violence. It was youth with non-traditional needs, youth that was performing inadequately, academically, but they had reasons for it. It wasn't like we were dumb. You know, sometimes you're stressed out and you're being abused and you can't concentrate in class, or you can't, or maybe you have test taking anxiety and you just blank out during the exam. So at this school, they focus on eliminating those barriers first or during you being in school, which I really liked. So let's get back to education. School was great. I graduated June 2013. And even though I graduated 2 years later, I still did it. I still ended up on an honor roll. And no one was about to tell me, even my stepfather, I mean, my foster father, oh, you graduated so late. Because it's not about when you do it, it's about that you did. And I was still young. At least I didn't let myself reach age 25 where I couldn't go back to high school. Oh, I forgot to mention that, as you can see, even though I dropped out, it is possible to go back into school and finish it up until age 24. That's possible. As long as you enroll by age 21, that is possible. They also make exceptions for international students. So you can, especially during that time, 2013, you could achieve a high school diploma by age 24, which I did at age 19. And I have no regrets. I'm proud. After that, it's not when you get to something or how you get it. It's just the fact that you achieve that diploma. No matter if I had to drop a million classes and leave, take semesters off, I got it, and no one could tell me anything. Does it matter? Is the employer's gonna say, "How'd you get this diploma? I see that you started in 2008 and you finished in 2018." No, they just focus on the fact that you have it. So a lot of people try to bash people on how they got the process of how they got something. Ignore that. Anyway, so after this, I tried to start enrolling in colleges again, but I had reached a obstacle because I had forgotten that the unofficial withdrawals, I wasn't even aware of that. I knew I took out a loan, but I didn't know about the unofficial withdrawals was going to make me owe money with TAP and Pell and HES, FAFSA, whatever you want to call it. I owed money to the government. The loans, it didn't matter because the loans could be deferred. But since I had the state aid, like the TAP and the Pell, I owed money to them now. So I started getting calls from collection agencies, and I was confused. Like, what are you talking about? They were like, you owe us money. I was like, what? They were like, blah blah institute, and then I was like crying, screaming. You know, I tend to over exaggerate at times. So I'm in CDI offices in the basement, and then I'm trying to apply for my stuff. I'm doing the college application, and when I did the FAFSA, they said that something that came back stating that I owed money. So I'm all crying, screaming. I'm like, this is coming back to haunt me, institute, blah blah. And I was not even able to. I wasn't about to attend school if I had to pay out of pocket. So all the schools that I had applied to for the CUNY, they helped me. The CUNY, the 6 schools, you could choose the 4 schools. I didn't do the process, and I was devastated. And from what I remember, since I was a foster youth, it was an advantage because the law guardian stated that I did not receive proper financial advisement and college resource information by my agency, which they're supposed to. At that age, there's certain things in life you want to fulfill, but they're supposed to give you life skills, independent living skills, before you age out when you're reaching that age 18, 19, 17, 18, 19, 20. During that age range, you're supposed to have adequate information on the foster grants, the foster youth grants. I was supposed to know about ETV, education training voucher. I was supposed to know about foster care is supposed to pay your room and board. I did not receive. Basically, my what do you call that? Caseworker, the person who comes to the house and makes sure there's food in the house. That caseworker ended up fired because they're supposed to provide. This is why I want to be a caseworker so bad. They're supposed to advocate on your behalf. They're supposed to. They don't really just work for the agency and covering up what the agency is trying to hide. They're supposed to work on the betterment of you. It wasn't like that. It was all things swept under the rug. It was like no one wanted me to know about what grants I was supposed to receive. So when I ended up at court, you know, trying to remember, I try to forget those things. The court dates for the foster care court dates or something. where you want certain things fulfilled. I went in there, and one of the things that my law guardian stressed was that I owed money because I did not receive appropriate information about foster care financial aid. So the foster youth is not supposed to be paying out of pocket. There are multiple things you could use to pay. You're supposed to. They even could apply for you. The FAFSA, the TAP pills, test that thing you go on. Supposed to receive all that information. You get things in the mail. You get a laptop. You get school supplies. There's New Yorkers for Children, foster care to success. There was no reason that I should have been in the dark about that. So they mandated the agency to help me pay the tap and pell, and that money basically came from what I would be able to receive in the future. I'm going to do another video on foster youth and their rights and put a link to all the grants you could get. Basically, that ACS subsidy that you get when you leave, they took some of that out and they put it toward the money that I owed to tap and pell. And I was very grateful for that. Once that was paid back, and it took a little while. It took like, from what I remember, it took like 2013, 14. I got paid back. I cleared up with the collections. They helped me check my credit, make sure it was off. But again, this was all due to it being mandated by the court. If it wasn't for that, they would have not acted with such urgency. I would have been swept under the rug. But sometimes you have to be stern and not worry about retaliation and, oh, what are they gonna think of me? Let me do loyalty. I'm not gonna be a snitch and all this stuff. You have to worry about you. So due to me working with legal aid society, my law guardian and all of that, I am now able to attend college. I didn't take out any loans. That loan was deferred. They didn't pay that back, but that's fine. They did pay so I could immediately begin classes, and blah blah institute is behind me. Every time I see them advertising all over the trains and all over the TV. They pay for so much advertisement, and I don't see this many advertisements from CUNY and SUNY. I'm telling you, the only advertisements I keep seeing is, oh, you want to sit on the couch, get up, get off the couch, and it's all over the trains. These preparatory schools pay for these things so much. It's so in your face. It's so in the newspaper everywhere. That's how they get their students by bombarding you with advertisements. I could see it on the train, from the top of the train, the horizontal one. I could see it in the vertical one. It's just everywhere. I see the newspaper. Now they have freaking advertisements on like Pandora and YouTube and Facebook. I'm seeing it suggested to me, and I just keep clicking, not interested, not interested. Because I've been down that route, and they just preyed on someone who did not have any knowledge really about college. I was always so used to live with my mom. I didn't know about financial and the real world, and I didn't have like the advisements that I needed. And 2014 passed, 2015 the beginning happened, and I was gonna start January 2015. I ended up starting in March, took the examinations, and there was no looking back. That is what I'm doing now. I'm in 3 honor societies, National Society of Collegiate Scholars, and it's the first chapter at my school. So I was in the first 200 inducted at the new chapter at my school in October 2015. And then in June 2016, I got inducted into Sigma Alpha Phi National um, National Society of Leadership and Success. And I ended up with the National Engaged Leader Award for doubling the steps to induction. And then in May 2016, I was inducted into the famous Phi Theta Kappa. So I'm like, when I graduate, I'm gonna have so much chords on. I'm gonna be trying to like, oh, this is this chord, this is this chord, this is this chord, and I still have other things I could accomplish. I'm gonna start my honors enrichment courses in 2017 fall, and right now my GPA is 3.8, 3.8. I got a few B's, whatever. So it went down, but for the most part, it's A plus, A minus, a few B's here and there. But I'm really excited for how much I've accomplished thus far. And even though in 2011 I was dropping out of high school and all these things, I'm a living example that All those things don't matter. If you drop out, if you got low scores, low GPA, my school accepted me because they didn't really have a minimum requirement GPA. That's why what I decided to do, which is important for this video, why I went to community college is because I wasn't this stellar high score student anymore. So I didn't have a high SAT score. I had just minimum GPA, minimum requirements of grades. I couldn't go to all the schools that I wanted to go to when I was on track, when I was, it's like a competition, you have to be in the first year class, all these things. And I just did it. I just finished it. At least I had it. What I did was I decided the right choice for me, since I'm so grade conscious and all these things, was to get back on track at a fresh start. Forget about the high school GPA. Focus on my college GPA. Go to community college and boost up my GPA. So I went in there and I was adamant on performing at my absolute best. And now I'm an honor student, collegiate scholars in college. And guess what? High school doesn't matter at this point. I got the diploma, and I do not feel that my next college, when I do my bachelor's in social work, is going to be looking at a high school diploma GPA. Guess what? As a transfer student, they're looking at my college accomplishments. So there's always a second chance, which is what I always state. There's always a second chance. You do not fail until you quit. And I'm not knocking those of you who are okay with just getting a passing grade. However, for me, I do put pressure on myself into performing at a high standard. That's because my next school that I'm considering Ivy League schools, I'm considering certain programs in social work, but I want the very best in social work because due to my foster care experience, I want to focus on the reform of foster care system, which is why I did my blog, Jumpstart Your Future. I have the Facebook page that is dedicated toward helping youth find resources of Workforce One. I'm gonna do more videos. Workforce One. If it wasn't for Workforce One, I don't know what I would be Workforce doing. A lot of people say they don't want to do that process, but Workforce One, it helps you instead of going into a pool of like a million applicants online. Workforce One is putting a face and a connection and a referral to those open job applications. So you bypass that whole online, oh, let me click on a random lottery and call them for an interview. A lot of people think you could just go and apply and apply and apply at any time online at night to Gap and Old Navy and Applebee's. Guess what? Those employers cannot see you. I'm not saying that it doesn't make sense to do, but what Workforce One makes you do is you do apply online, but you give some sort of code attached to that application, and Workforce One is a credible referral to these managers. So they'll call Henry at Whole Foods and say, Ayana just applied with code 1223. She's here. This is what she's accomplished. Here's her resume. They're the link. You don't wait and wait and wait and wait. That Workforce One, I'm telling you, I recommend that. But I'm gonna do another video on that. But basically, what I chose to do is completely different than how I first imagined. I was like, I'm not going to community college. I'm not staying in New York. I was so uppity when I was younger. I didn't know that all these obstacles you can encounter. And a lot of people say, why? I heard this girl say something ignorant in my class, and I just had to say something back. I was like, how dare you? She was talking about how people have no excuse to be taking semesters off and dropping courses. I said, you don't know anyone's story, anyone's struggle. It doesn't matter if they take a semester off and come back. The point is that they did not quit. You don't know, like with me coming from the Bronx all the way to Manhattan Beach, I would take the B from the last stop to the last stop. It could take 2 to 3 hours. The commute was like 6 hours to and back, maybe 4 or 5 hours. It just was like, but I still was attending those morning classes and everything because that school, Kingsborough, finally I'm gonna say it, Kingsborough Community College is incredible. With my mental health with my mental health focus. I just was saying this today. In associate's degree, we did master's degree level projects. Sorry, we focus on a lot of field work, a lot of hands-on experience. They don't really want us to just focus on the book. They want us to get life experiences. Their mental health program is extremely, extremely in depth. It's not like the other human services degree programs that is just slack, just the bare minimum. This one, you actually work at nursing homes. If you're doing credentialed alcohol substance abuse counseling, which was my first, what's that thing called? My first focus. I don't remember what it's called. Sub plan, because you have like your major and it's like the sub plan. So I chose KSAC. And with KSAC, you get your KSAC trainee. Then they have the domestic violence focused people. It's really intense. It's not like slack at all, as I would call it. It's I'm really gaining some real insight. Like with the project I just did, mental health organization, they're really teaching about the budgeting, the funding, the ins and outs, the chain of command. All the books that they made us read were very, very detailed. It spoke as if we really were managers of these organizations. They really focus on creating competent mental health professionals. They don't just they correct you. They don't just want you to go in there and place your bias and stigmatize the mentally ill. They're really big on not stigmatizing the mentally ill, ostracizing them. They focus on treating them as individuals, not judging them based on their illness. They also emphasize do not just rely on the Diagnostic Statistic Manual 5, DSM 5, which is what mental health professionals refer to for the diagnosis of mental disorders. They say don't just focus on that, which is true. Why? Because every person's experience of mental illness. This cat is in the window. You heard that? Knocking stuff down. Everyone's. I hope you didn't knock my plants down. Everyone's experience with mental illness is not the same. So someone with bipolar disorder could have all these phases of mania a lot, and the other person doesn't. You know, there's bipolar one, there's bipolar two. Someone with schizophrenia is not automatically hearing derogatory, auditory. They're not always hearing commands to murder someone. You know, they focus a lot on treating everyone as an individual. Certain medications and treatments does not go universal for like a bipolar disorder. Not everyone would take lithium. Some people would take a Latuda or this or this or that. I'm gonna do another video on competent, what I think is a competent mental health professional. I'm not perfect, but they focus on not being pushy and not treating this person like babying them. Like, are you okay? Like, you never know if the person with mental illness has a PhD. You never know anything. Someone as a cashier could be a schizophrenic, and you don't know. So you can't just make up your own things on the person. You have to evaluate the person and treat them as an individual. You know. So basically, this is my college experience so far. Um, I was at I did reach some type of obstacles or hardships which caused me to drop classes. There hasn't been a semester from what I remember that I have not dropped a class, which is because, you know, with my pressuring myself and giving myself such high expectations, I keep putting 4 classes instead of the 3 classes. I keep going full time instead of part time. And on top of that, every semester, in addition to like say I start spring, I go and take summer. I don't take semesters off, and then I'm trying to do full time, 4 classes, and then I'm trying to do 2 classes in summer, for example, spring and summer. I'm taking 4 classes and I'm taking two. And then if I start in the fall, I'm taking 4 classes in the fall and two in the winter. Those are optional, but I that's what I was doing so far. And you know, it worked in vain. It really worked in vain. It wasn't in my best interest at all. Because I would say, do I think I'm gonna make this 9 a.m. class? Do I think I'm gonna make this 8 a.m. class? And then I'll end up dropping it. And I'm gonna do another video because with this mental health organization class, due to my fear of public speaking and stuff, I kept dropping it and dropping it. And this is a requirement. And I kept thinking if I take it with another professor, then I will avoid the project. At Kingsborough Community College, this master's degree level project of creating an agency, which is really realistic, it's like a business proposal on an agency that you want to open up. So there's the panel that judges you. It's very realistic. It was very intense, but I finally made it, and I'm about to get my certificate of completion next week. So I really commend myself for I conquered it. I said, you can't keep running away from this project. Take it. and it gave me the insight on me opening up some type of practice or working hand in hand with someone who's going to open some type of practice. Because I don't really have the knowledge on opening up an entire foster care agency, but I want to be like a life skills coach. I had a life skills coach. It was really useful for me. I'll talk about that in another foster care video, which I'm probably going to do next since I'm so chatty today. But this video ended up being an hour again, and I'm sorry, but everyone knows me. I like to talk so much. But this is College Guyana, and this is my college experience so far. Whatever I did in high school does not define me because I'm creating a new perception of myself that these colleges are going to see based on what I've accomplished in my community college. The community college and the getting the GPA up as a transfer student, it wipes out whatever you did in high school basically. All these schools, you should see the offers I'm getting. I'm getting Columbia, NYU, which is the NYU Silver School Social Work, but you should see my college, my emails. I have so many emails from all kinds of colleges, all kinds of scholarships keep contacting me. And at this point, I kind of feel like I'm like a juniorish. So I'm going to be graduating in 2018 around this time. But during that time, I'm only taking like math and science because unlike some people, I focused on taking all of my major courses instead of focusing on like math, science, and like math and science. I didn't focus on that, and me, I had to take remedial. So you can't take it the same semester. So my next schedule is remedial math part one, and then the next semester, the expedited one, remedial math part two, and then real math is going to be in spring. Real math along with whatever elective I want to take, and another field internship. So this is my experience. Like I said, that those things didn't define me at all, and I'm gonna do another video on the importance of confiding in someone and reporting to the appropriate authority figures when you're being bullied because maybe this could have been avoided. Sometimes I would beat myself up because I intended to, I was going to graduate high school early in like junior year and then I was going to go straight to state college. But I feel like I got a lot of street experience now going to community college instead of going to like a boarding school type environment. I don't have any regrets. I have my apartment. If I would have went away, I wouldn't have wanted to get an apartment. So many things have happened, but I'm living proof that it doesn't matter if you get the bare minimum grade. The point is that you got a grade, and everyone's path is different. For me, I want to do more potential Ivy League schools or whatever I want to do. But for you, you may just want your degree. There's like a debate. Like, say there's two schools, for example, NYU Silver School has social work, Lehman has social work. Is NYU social work degree any better than Lehman social work degree when that employer sees it? I don't know, but it really shouldn't be. It's all based on you. And right now, what I'm doing in my last types of semesters, I'm focusing on applying for scholarships, and I guess then I'll just evaluate it and decide upon uh, going to these open days, these college tour visit days. I could determine which one is best for me. I'm not knocking anyone. I'm not saying I'm going to go to NYU and take out loans. I'm considering the CCTOP and Phi Beta Kappa scholarship and whatever other things I can get. And I'll see if their program is right for me. I'll see if Lehman is right for me. Hunter or College Staten Island. There's all kinds of places that have social work. But right now, I'm just looking at Lehman so hard. And I don't know why. I'm just looking at it so hard. But it's College Guyana. Thank you for watching my video. And I'll try to make the other ones shorter. But to those who watch till the end, who have dropped out, considering dropping out, I would say, before making such a decision, really evaluate your decision. And you don't have to drop out. If you're having issues in a public traditional high school, there's young adult borough centers, there's MC and DHS. There's alternative schools. There's Thomas Askin. There's a school in Coney Island, Thomas Askin School. They were associated with the Jewish Board of Family and Children's Services counseling. So you would be able to get counseling, and you were also in an alternative school, which was very small. It was very small, and it caters to your needs. Don't let people judge you. If you need to leave a public school setting because you have social anxiety, or you just feel like you're not getting enough support or enough whatever it's called, like you're not getting enough attention, then maybe you need to go somewhere else. But I don't really recommend you just completely drop out of high school because there's other options. And I'm glad that that wasn't final, which is what I stressed to myself about it. It wasn't final. I went back and can go back. So you just figure out what's right for you. Whoever's watching this, high school people that's going through stress, people that dropped out already, college students that are thinking their grades are mediocre. Colleges will always accept you. There's community colleges that don't really stress all these GPA requirements, and then there's other schools you could, if you want to work harder, get your GPA up in your community college or whatever school accepted you. Don't focus on, and it depends on you. Don't focus on a name of a school or the idea of being an Ivy League honor person. If you want to fulfill that, then you want to fulfill that. Another thing, don't try to be in competition with another student because you don't know why they're trying to fulfill that. You don't know. And if you do things for other people, like how I went into blah blah institute because I felt inadequate due to my host father's comments, it backfired because I didn't really want to do that and I ended up leaving anyway. So just do what's right for you because you know what's right for you. But that doesn't mean to shut off your ears and shut off your instincts and just be blind to the facts and ignore people that are trying to give you information. So it's College Yana. Thank you for watching this video, and I'm gonna do another one. So bye.
You're my baby, my lover, my lady, all mine. You make me want you, it drives me crazy. I feel like you were made just for me, babe. Tell me if you feel the same way, 'cause it just feels so right. I don't wanna waste no time. If I had to choose, I know I'm gonna always choose to be with you. 'Cause girl, don't you know?
Girl, don't you know you're so beautiful? I wanna give all my love to you, girl. Not just tonight, but the rest of your life. I wanna be always here by your side. Girl, don't you know you're so beautiful? I wanna